Longtime fans of the channel know that I love to hate bad media, and one subgroup produces a lot of it. I'm of course talking about conservatives and their animated shows. For me, I associate cartoons with nostalgic Saturday mornings and heroes fighting the bad guys, but for right-wingers, I guess they associate them with bad animation and racism.
God, I love black people. I'll always fight for you, Jamal, no matter what.
Enter the subject of today's video, the Will Stancil Show. I've been doing YouTube for 2 years now, and in that time, there have been a bunch of new ways that have been created to manufacture this slop content. Because for instance, while Mr. Bircham had to subcontract a Southeast Asian animation house, which hated both their concept and their bigotry, the Will Stancil Show, on the other hand, has a new #1 employee, and their name is Sora. And Sora is doing a very bad job.
My head feels awful. What did I do last night?
The Will Stancil Show is a right-wing satire-esque thing based on somebody in real life who is named, what else, Will Stancil.
We ain't gonna fight no more, Mr. Stancil. That's a promise.
Yeah, and I'm even finna show up at my son's birthday party next week.
This fact will not surprise you. It was also created by an actual Nazi who lost her job. Yes, her job. I know, it's 2026 and they have women now. I tend to think of National Socialists as one big boys club that hates cooties almost as much as they hate the Jews, but maybe my thinking is a little bit outdated. Anyways, the Will Stancil Show was created by Emily Eustace, who was once fired from her job working concessions for the Philadelphia Phillies for being too racist. For those unfamiliar with the Phillies, that's like a doctor being fired from a hospital for being too good at saving lives. They just kept saving lives. She was literally wearing a hat to work that said, "Make the Phillies great again." That wasn't giving you any clues over there in the city of brotherly love? As the prior clips may indicate, yeah, while watching the show, it is pretty apparent that it was created by someone and written by someone who is a virulent bigot.
It's okay, ma'am. I have a Black Studies degree.
I think this point can also be proven by just telling you the log line of the first episode. Will Stancil solves violence in the black community by using his Black Studies degree and transforming into his alter ego of white N-word Will. I can't believe I went to college to study film and now I'm studying this.
Hey yo, it's Wigga Will up in the house, know what I'm saying?
That stogie in his hand appears to be suspended in the middle of the air thanks to the awesome power of terrible AI animation. So why are we looking at this racist cartoon? Well, to tell you the honest truth, I don't think anyone has been nearly mean enough to the person who made it. It's one thing to spew right-wing drivel into an echo chamber, i.e. the website formerly known as Twitter, but it's another thing entirely to have your AI slop actually examined with a critical lens. The Will Stancil Show has animation that ranges from mediocre to appalling, the messaging is almost as moronic as it is racist, and the writing, which apparently is the only element of the show, which was not created with generative AI, is perhaps the worst part of the entire ensemble. So today, let's have a laugh at the expense of one of the right wing's best and brightest cultural contributions, this shitty racist cartoon. Hey there, Pat. How's that new year going? Oh, hey, weird guy who occasionally comes into my room. It's going pretty well, but I'm just struggling with my New Year's resolutions, you know, dieting, working out. My New Year's resolution is to Google you. Excuse me? Google, the search engine? Yeah, I know what Google is. Thanks to data brokers, large shadowy companies who gather and sell your data, I can find all sorts of personal information about you online. Your phone number, your address, maybe even your birthday. Okay, pause. I think I need today's sponsor, Delete Me. Delete Me does all the work of removing your private information from the internet. Before I used Delete Me, it was honestly kind of upsetting to think about how much of my information was available all across the internet on all these weird websites. I can't even find your birthday. It was last week. Wait. Shoot. Gotcha! Delete Me doesn't offer a feature for that, I fear. But they are constantly working to protect me from the risks of financial theft and harassment. Delete Me! Activate! Ah! So if you want to start the new year off right and get your data off the internet, go to joindeleteme.com/pat20 or use the code PAT20 for 20% off. Or you can scan the QR code. Again, that is PAT20 or joindeleteme.com/pat20. Thanks again to Delete Me for sponsoring today's video. Now back to your regularly scheduled scheduled programming. My name is Patrick, but my friends call me Pat, but most importantly, Hart, back by popular demand. I'm also on vacation, but don't worry, I'm not in Miami, so we're good. You may be curious to know that Will Stancil is in fact a real person. I'm sure approximately 10 of you knew that already, so I am awarding all 10 of you 50 My Friends Call Me Pat fan points for being just as much of a very online guy as I am. Specifically, we're talking about election Twitter, a niche subsection of the website which agonizes over truly riveting stuff like the state of the gerrymandered congressional maps in Wisconsin. If that sounds boring to you, congratulations on being normal. Will Stancil is an e-celebrity on election Twitter, where he's most famous for being a bit of a cringeworthy liberal and his failed run for the Minnesota House of Representatives. To give him a bit of credit, since I did just basically call him a shitlib, and while that is true, he has been in recent days very active with tracking the ICE presence and monitoring the ICE presence in the city of Minneapolis. Emily Eustace, again the creator of the show, has rewarded the real-life subject of her cartoon by retweeting a video with the caption, "Will Stancil getting shot at and tear-gassed is the funniest thing you'll see all weekend." Personally, I don't find the Trump-led Gestapo ushering in the backsliding of American democracy funny, just because the person they're shooting at has a bit of a whiny voice, but that's just me.
They're shooting at me. They are shooting at me.
Eustace has a long-running and truly bizarre obsession with Will Stancil, who, again, I must remind you, is an obscure e-celebrity, most famous for tweeting things people find mildly annoying. He has no involvement with the show whatsoever. But Emily's YouTube page has AI-generated videos featuring Will going back over a year, with him being the subject of a remake of the music video for the song Finesse the Plug.
I suggest that you don't f with us.
Using AI to generate a video of this Z-list celebrity you've never met saying the N-word is, of course, a very sane thing to do. There's also this one from around the same time where Will is shown to be, like, almost cool, and he's also shown to be eating all these foods in a way that could best be described as vaguely fetishistic, but, you know, maybe there's a world where all of this one-way fandom and AI mockery could be considered almost flattering from Will's perspective. You know, if, Emily hadn't also made a cartoon where he's depicted as one of the most racist people imaginable while wielding his Black Studies degree. Let's get into the first episode, which begins with its very distinctive AI-generated theme song and a bunch of animation that somehow looks even worse than all those old AI videos of Will Smith eating spaghetti.
It's the Will Stancil Show. It's the Will Stancil Show.
So right away, I have so many questions. Not about the purpose of the show, which is clearly to lambaste this random Twitter personality that the show's creator has this strange and likely sexual fixation with. No. I'm wondering, why hot dogs? Is that a stereotype for liberals now, that they just sit in the park and eat hot dogs all day? That seems more like a caricature my grandmother would use to cudgeon the Germans, not glasses-wearing policy wonks. Did you see those krauts in the park yesterday? Grandma, it's not World War II anymore. I don't think we can say that. They were wearing lederhosen and dancing the polka, and they were eating plates with 7 hot dogs on them. The nerve!
7, yeah.
A day.
Is that high?
It's a little high.
I also don't know if we should be paying attention to the fact that Will is being chased by what is essentially a carbon copy of Bender from Futurama. Or this could just be a classic case of an AI artist who really just loves seeing a cartoon character from an actually good show being unconsensually inserted into their slop.
You, Rick and Morty, eating poop.
Oh, geez, Rick, we're eating poop. Shut up, Morty.
Ah, well, we should probably take some time off from talking about how shitty this show looks to how racist it is. Please roll the clip again, editing Pat.
God, I love black people. I'll always fight for you, Jamal, no matter what.
Let's actually try to unpack this here. Let's try to display the mind of a fascist for a second, like Hitler did when he shot himself in the head and his brains got everywhere. This joke stems from an attitude that conservatives have towards liberals, that white liberals can be condescending or patronizing to racial minorities. And while that can be true, I'd much rather be friends with this white liberal unk who uses the term Latinx when he's writing on his subreddit Substack instead of this actual genuine racist writing sarcastic lines about how the protagonist of their show loves black people. One of the more interesting things about the Will Stancil show is the palpable disdain that the show's creator has for someone who is ostensibly the main character and the protagonist, the key driver of the plot, but Will Stancil's actual focus, his actual role in the show, is mostly to be the butt of a bunch of jokes that have been clearly written by someone who has disdain for black people.
That's what's up.
Will's professed love of racial minorities quickly dissolves into a street conflict below the bar. A bar where, mind you, the beers appear to randomly refill themselves as if with magic.
Make me! Get off me! You started this! Back down, Jamal!
It's moments like this in the writing, filming, and editing process that I take a look at myself and I'm like, wow, should I really be making fun of something that is objectively this low quality? But then I remember, I don't respect racists, and I enjoy mocking them. And then the video continues. The commotion of our couple fighting becomes a source of concerned spectacle for a crowd of onlookers, who, at various points, just start shape-shifting into completely different art styles, and at one point they even change race entirely. It's interesting to note that despite the show being created by a literal white supremacist, the AI-induced racial shape-shifting is almost analogous to the Michael Jackson Black or White music video. You'll notice I used the Glee version there. That was to throw a little bit of a bone to Emily Eustace, because despite the fact that the song Black or White is all about bridging the racial divide, the Glee Club only seems to have a single black person in their ranks. Wait, did somebody mention bridging the racial divide?
Oh my god, what do we do? Stop, please! Can't anyone make him stop?
This looks like a job for Will Stancil.
Ah yes, Will Stancil, the self-proclaimed guardian of the black community, and he's also here to assuage the concerns of the whites, including this bearded lady, who's going to become a completely different person entirely in the next 7 seconds.
Be careful, young man. They're out of control.
It's okay, ma'am. I have a Black Studies degree.
Have any of you ever worked on a film set before? Because I have. And there's someone whose entire job it is to monitor and track continuity. Make sure people's clothing is the same. Make sure the cigarettes are at the same length. Make sure there's the same amount of water in cup to cup from scene to scene, etc., etc. Not only would that person be fired for work like this, their actress transforming into an entirely unprecedented entity, I think they'd be shot right out of a cannon. They'd be shot right from Hollywood to the Midwest in a cannon. Sorry, Sarah, you couldn't quite crack it in Hollywood. Your actress kept turning into an entirely different actress. It's time to go back to Michigan, where you can be married with 4 kids by the age of 25.
You'll be married in a year in the suburbs.
With all of this AI crap, this is universal. The most basic fundamentals of filmmaking are ignored because you're expected not to notice. And if you do notice, you're expected not to care. And the saddest part is I think that there are some right-wingers who are watching the Will Stancil show for the racism and not the scene-to-scene continuity. Can you imagine that? Crazy. If you think any of this show is written or being performed in good faith, no, it's not. It's not. Will uses his Black Studies degree to transform amidst a maelstrom of cognac and malt liquor into his alter ego, White N-word Will, who he hopes will stop the fighting. I hope I don't have to explain to you why distilling the entirety of blackness into Hennessy and 40s could be considered offensive, right? Like, you get it. You get that intrinsically, right? You know, to varying degrees, other groups get it too, like, not quite as bad, but the Irish, like myself, we also kind of get a little of it, but at least we also get leprechauns, red hair, and St. Patrick's Day, or as I like to call it, St. Me's Day. Unfortunately, on St. Me's Day, I do often prove some of those offensive stereotypes surrounding alcoholism. Regardless, while watching some of the worst animation I've literally ever seen, Will's pleas for the group to focus their collective enmity on different sources seems to be taken pretty well.
Let's keep that anger focused where it belongs. On the white man.
I think this is an illustrative moment as it refers to Emily Eustace and her white nationalist ideology, because she genuinely believes that white liberals like Will are trying to usher in the downfall of themselves, the downfall of all white people, and they'll be there and they'll be clapping and cheering all the way. And to that, I just, how do you even start to approach someone whose mind is that fucked from racial grievance? Okay, Emily, put down Twitter. That is step one. Now I want you, okay, you did that, great. Now I want you to watch this TikTok, all right? Now hopefully after you watch it, you're gonna realize maybe we're all not so different, and maybe, you know, we're all just the same people fundamentally deep down. Now just watch the TikTok. Did you watch it? Okay, great, awesome. Now let's tune into your cartoon and let's see if it's any different, because, you know, prior to this, it's basically been an animated adaptation of Mein Kampf, but maybe the TikTok will fix it.
And I'm even finna show up at my son's birthday party next week.
No such luck, I'm afraid. And of course, the couple falls back into fighting, this time for housing vouchers, while the city burns down around them, and Mr. Stancil and his friend Jamal pat themselves on the back for a job well done. This is ironic because the source of current unrest in Minneapolis is the Trump administration-sanctioned thugs roaming around and executing people, not well-meaning, cringe-worthy lawyers, but I digress. Now, switching gears for a moment, do you guys want me to examine class dynamics for you?
No.
Of course not. This is a comedy video. Come on, what if I did it really quickly?
You're making my lunch taste bad.
Boo. Okay, I'm gonna do it anyway. Upon his departure, before him and Jamal abscond to the hills, Will provides the crowd with a gift.
Oh, here's some free housing vouchers. Looking forward to seeing you in my neighborhood, neighbor.
I think even in the context of Will Stancil being written to be like a character who sucks from the show's perspective, in this moment, he's clearly well-intentioned, and I think most of us can agree with that, unless you happen to be a racist with worms eating your brain. Still, despite his gesture, the couple starts fighting for the vouchers, and eventually everybody in the entire city is fighting for these vouchers. What Emily Eustace would have you believe is that this fighting is a function of immutable racial characteristics. White people and black people can never live together and coexist because of nature. Let's go to reality though. Why are these people fighting on a basic level? Because there's not enough housing and there's not enough money. People are struggling economically in our society, and folks like Yusuf would have you blame racial minorities rather than the billionaire class at the top of our hierarchy, which is exploiting all of our labor. See, was my little class consciousness rant that bad? No, I told ya. Anyways, time to talk about episode 2, which features Will Stancil being turned into a right-wing serial killer by Twitter's AI model, Grok. Wait, what? The Will Stancil Show episode 2, entitled A Grokwork Orange, that pun being the only somewhat funny thing in the entire episode, is both twice as long as the pilot and twice as uncomfortable. I watched this episode in public a couple times while I was writing the script of this video, and I was really embodying this tweet as on my giant laptop screen there was someone in SS regalia fighting a bunch of racial minorities and people who are coded to look as left-leaning figures. But I'm getting ahead of myself because before we get to the fighting, we see some scenes from the Stancil Jamal residence.
Fascists everywhere. Fascist. You want a ratio, Will Stancil? I'll show you a ratio.
Now, Miss Eustace is getting a little meta here, showcasing some of Will Stancil's actual real-life tweets. In this exchange, he's being clowned on for having a degree in black people.
God changed his mind about black people!
Now look, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that Will Stancil looks cool when he replies to that tweet saying, actually I have a master's degree in American history and I have all these other degrees too. I just can't do it. Can't defend him. It's like being asked to defend the biggest nerd in school just because they're well-intentioned. Like, I'm sorry, Will, I don't think I can keep them from taking your lunch money. They're going to punch you and your coins are gonna spill everywhere like Sonic. I can say that you're technically correct, but problems begin to arise when you're trying to prove that you're technically correct to a bunch of right-wing extremists. Will Stancil's need for validation from raw egg nationalist kind of obscures the fact that this guy does have a master's degree in American history, and he almost certainly has taken multiple classes talking about the history of race relations in America, and is several magnitudes more informed about this topic than the average person. Anyways, here's an AI version of him saying the N-word in episode 2 of the show.
fucking.
Try to fight with pigs and you'll end up in the mud, as they say. A more modern adage could be, try to be earnest on social media, and your digital stalker will turn you into an AI cartoon that says slurs. But before Will turns into this SS officer, we have to hear him rage a little more.
1 second, Jamal. I'm busy with these Nazis. Goddamn Nazis photoshopping me into pictures of Hitler.
So this is actually pretty funny, because what Emily would like you to believe is that Will, both in the cartoon and in real life, is being histrionic when he labels his opponents as Nazis. I think the fact that this is total bullshit is very obvious.
Sie da? Sehe ich etwa wie ein Nazi aus?
Nö, würde ich jetzt nicht sagen.
Emily, they're photoshopping his face with a bunch of swastikas. What is that supposed to mean?
Is that bad?
Well, not good.
What does it make you that you've turned him into a stormtrooper and you're having him brutalize a bunch of left-coded graffiti artists in your AI cartoon? No, not that stormtrooper. The real-life stormtroopers were significantly less jovial. And Emily, you think you're so justified in how you're treating Will Stancil, the character, because of what you have him do to Jamal.
Don't touch that, Jamal! I have that saved!
I can forgive Will Stancil being turned into a sociopathic murderer a la the character Alex from A Clockwork Orange, but I cannot forgive you making Will be mean to Jamal. They're best friends / lovers. It's honestly, it's a little unclear. Also, the SNES controller that Jamal gets out, which theoretically would infringe upon Will Stancil's ability to use Twitter, thus provoking his rage and yelling, doesn't really make sense with how space and time work and how the computer is actually set up. But, you know, we're 21 minutes into this video and you're probably a little bored with me pointing out every single continuity error, right? Okay, but wait, can I get one more? I promise it'll be worth it. Okay, great. Thank you so much. The AI literally changes Will's race when he goes in to hug Jamal.
I do this all for you, Jamal.
Is this a quirk of Sora's terrible and inconsistent AI video generation, or is it a salient message about racial harmony in the middle of this cartoon that was made by a literal white supremacist? You be the judge. It's the first one. Of course it's the first one. Of course the AI messed up. No need to judge. Will then gets drunk off of 2 beers after a night of shitposting on Twitter.
Home, finally.
Why is he saying he's home when he's been home the whole time he's been on Twitter? I need to stop questioning the things that this show is doing. We're in a godless place of creative media where it is impossible to discern the difference as to whether any individual decision is a result of a bad joke, an AI hallucination, or just plain old human stupidity. Like the evil grok robots being surrounded by binary code that features a bunch of numbers that are not 0 and 1, that is AI hallucination. This line,
who the hell are you?
Someone who appreciates color.
Just not when it's put somewhere where it doesn't belong.
Or when it's on someone's skin.
that is human stupidity. And as the characters in the show point out,
What? That's racist!
this is played for laughs. Like, the show's creator wants you to laugh at these punks for insinuating that what Will said is racist. And at the risk of being your friend who's too woke, yeah, I think saying that you don't like non-white people, it's racist. You know, where's my medal for bravery in white allydom? There's then a sequence of hyper-violence, again obviously inspired by A Clockwork Orange, where after being turned into essentially an SS officer by the grok robots, Will Stancil takes vengeance on 4 different punks who miraculously keep changing their face, race, and appearance. Eventually, Will Stancil returns back to his apartment, hungover and unaware of the murder spree he was just on last night, and he sits dutifully in front of his television.
A disturbing crime spree was committed in downtown Minneapolis last night, including property destruction and aggravated assault.
That's right, Stella.
Remember, folks, evil liberals like Will Stancil will literally sit and smile in front of their TV if they hear about property damage. The libs are like this for all sorts of issues. Here's President Obama to weigh in.
I need your money to kill babies by abortion. You, taxpayer, give me your money to pay for baby killing.
Somebody's gotta do something.
That's how I feel about this show, funnily enough. I think that do something might be the IRL Will Stancil's catchphrase, but I'm choosing to believe that it was instead a bizarre creative choice made by Emily Eustace. Plus, I mean, it's kind of weird to have a catchphrase if you're a real person in real life with a real job who's not wearing spandex and fighting supervillains. Heart back by popular demand. Shh. As someone who makes YouTube videos professionally, I think I'm ridiculous enough to get an exception. And because I've suffered quite greatly in the process of making this particular video, I want to show you just the last shot of the episode because it just embodies how terrible this show is. That is over 10 seconds of him just typing. I thought in the era of social media we're supposed to be optimizing everything with quick cuts, not this fucking l'arrivée d'un train en gare de la Ciotat ass bullshit. Wow, my 1300-day Duolingo streak has really not made my French any better. But yeah, I just wanted to leave you with a parting shot because while this show may be racist, have you considered that it's also very poorly made? In the modern media landscape, if you don't care about quality, you can pretty much get millions of views by pushing out poop from a butt. And I'm not talking about Beast Games, I'm talking about all this stuff that is created primarily or entirely with generative AI. And I have a lot of plans to examine more stuff like this coming up in the future. Ever wondered what the first movie created with AI would look like? No? Well, have you ever wondered if watching a gay guy make fun of it would be an enjoyable way to spend your lunch? There we go. I've won you back. Cultural criticism of AI slop like the Will Stancil show is a thankless job, but I think it's one that is going to become more and more important as AI becomes more dominant in the entertainment landscape. And there are 3 more long episodes of this show on Emily's page. So if you want me to review the rest of them, like and comment, because this was a tough video to make. The only cultural value presented by the Will Stancil show is that it is both deserving of mockery and incredibly easy to mock. It's me from the past. Ooh, thanks again to Delete Me for sponsoring today's video. If you want to get your New Year's started off right and protect your privacy, go to joindeleteme.com/pat20 or use my code pat20 for 20% off, or you can scan the QR code. That's joindeleteme.com/pat20 or code pat20 for 20% off. Crazy deal. But that's gonna do it for me, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Those are all free ways to help out the channel. But as always, my name is Patrick, but my friends call me Pat, and I'll see you for the next one.